So welcome you both. Thank you very much for participating in my blog series, which is all focused about how to get more attendees to my virtual events. So welcome Ben and Rob, and please introduce yourselves.
Hi, so I'm Ben. I work with a company called Come Alive Media. Rob and I work together, and yeah, we're specialists in live web streaming and now virtual events with the pandemic going on. And yeah, I'll let Rob introduce himself. Over to you, Rob.
Good afternoon. Thanks so much, Raimonda. Yeah, I'm Rob, and together Ben and I do some work together where we help certain people improve the quality of their virtual events and their live streaming. As you can see, Ben's showing you kind of what we see a lot of, and I'm kind of showing you what's possible with some equipment, and it's set out correctly in a way that you can be clearly heard and seen so that you get the most out of the live stream, and you just kind of lift your level above what everybody else does.
Brilliant. Okay, well, thank you again for participating. And yes, so I believe you're going to be covering a very topical issue, is the technology of virtual events and what to use and how to use it to the best ability. So which one of you want to kick off, please, by all means?
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. So thanks, Raimonda. So yeah, basically, I just wanted to talk through a few things, maybe a few kind of key things that most people are doing. So as you can see, I haven't made any effort with my background, but I do want to point some specific things out that can make a difference without having to, invest heavily, but just so you're set up, ready to go when you're just having a virtual conference, but you want to just improve it a little bit. So one of the things is, obviously you can see here, like you can see I'm kind of looking down on you a little bit, and it's, most people do this and it's kind of pointing up towards my ceiling. Now, quite an easy thing to do is to actually just raise the level of the laptop so you're kind of looking directly at the camera, so your eye line is looking straight into the camera. Now what that does, it's very subtle, but it's a kind of like a little rapport building skill, and in the sense that we're kind of at the same level, and it's more comfortable for the participants. It looks better. People feel more comfortable around you. They just see you as, everyday person. So it does have like a sort of slightly like a psychological impact. The other thing I want to point out is just around lighting. So essentially you can see here, like I've purposely got a window in front of me, which is actually the right way to do things, because you've got the light shining in from the window, it's illuminating your face. And but the not so good thing to do is to have windows in the background. You see it's like totally blowing out in the background. And it just looks terrible. It kind of just doesn't look great. And so all I could do is simply pull those blinds down, and that will make a significant difference. Just to kind of get the lighting correct. And then thirdly is, I would say that the most important thing is also just to watch your background. You see, I've got a lot of I'm actually at my mum's place at the moment, so I'm kind of, it's not a bad background, but it's also not good, and it's maybe not representing my brand as effectively as I could make, enhance my brand. So there's a couple of things, and then just a few points. I think. Do you want to cover a little bit about Zoom as well? Just a couple of basics that people want to know, Raimonda.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So, like if there is such a thing, but an idiot's guide or something. I've been hearing a lot of sort of customers asking me how they can make the most of the platform, what's the best sort of do's and don'ts, because everybody's getting sort of Zoom overwhelmed, and everybody thinks that they're a pro in it, but there is certainly, I'm sure, a good way and a bad way of using it. So
yeah, Yeah, well, I'll point to a couple of things, a couple of useful things just to use. I think one point specifically, well, just let me just go back, actually rewind a little bit. So one of the things that I also pointed out is like, sometimes you see people like this, they're just heads creeping in there. There's loads of space in there. So just making sure your head is centrally located, and you're looking directly into the camera. So that's another important point. And then with regards to Zoom, I think some of the kind of common things that we see is, you sometimes hear participants speaking in the background, or there's background noise from somewhere that's not coming from the main speaker's mic. So obviously, I think there's a little at the top of the Zoom, there's a little icon, a menu that says meeting, and there's an option to mute all. So you can literally, and I think the shortcut for it is, if you're on an Apple, that is like Shift, Apple, and Z, I believe.
Okay.
So yeah, just to kind of make sure that you're able to control other people's audio. So you just got one audio stream coming through.
Yeah, that's quite important for larger events, isn't it? Especially if you have a lot of attendees and everyone trying to speak over each other, it can be a bit overwhelming. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good point. Exactly.
So yeah, and that points to another important thing. So if you've got your main presenter speaking, then you always want to have mute all on. But then if you've got Q&A, then it's always a good idea to have someone there supporting you with like who to unmute at the same time, rather than unmuting all.
Yeah,
it's kind of a common thing. And then I'd say as well, like especially for speakers, I think there's a really important option of the two options, like gallery view and speaker view. So when you're speaking, I think it's always good to be in speaker view, unless you want to see all the participants and you're speaking directly to them. So just having an awareness of that. And then I'd say finally is like, and I think it would bring the context, a bit of context into what type of event you're running. Like if it's just with, a small number of people, then you're okay just not doing so much of a tech checkup if you know what you're doing. But what I say for virtual events, like I'm spending an entire day with someone, just running through the tech and doing a rehearsal, because that's just important, because there's many, it's the same as running a large event. Basically, you've got many different sources of media coming from different directions, and you need to practice and rehearse and have a technical person almost, dedicated to the main computer that's controlling everything. And then to rehearse each of the presentations you're going through, so the speaker knows what they're doing, so the main host knows what they're doing. So it's really simple, and it is actually simple, but you still need to follow that rehearsal process to kind of maximize the Zoom capabilities, because there's a lot that we can do with this now. This tool, it's an amazing tool, and you might as well take the time to use it the most efficient way as possible.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Ben. That's brilliant. Thank you for the tips.
All right. Pleasure.
Have we got Rob now, more on the sort of the techie bits and the background?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Let me share my screen. I'll just do a short little presentation first and then go through a couple of other things. So one of the things that Ben and I do, apart from advising people on some of the tech and giving them basic ideas, is we've obviously got a course that we run, like a digital course we've produced, and we're obviously interacting with people. But then the other part of this is, can we help people set this up like I've got here? And it doesn't cost you £10,000. It costs you a little bit, but a couple of small changes will make a big difference. So if we have a look here at the virtual tech setup, I did this at home. I specially set this up. My office is a little bit more full, So I did this on my wife's desk. So this is what it looks like. So there you've got two light ones. You've got the keyboard, mouse, and you've got the laptop. So that's your setup, home studio setup one. And so in this scenario, you are using the mic that's on the laptop, and you're using the webcam. And even on a decent quality Mac computer, the webcams are not great. So based on setup number one, there's a couple of pros. Obviously, it's quick and easy, and it's by far the cheapest option. Unfortunately, of course, there's a trade-off, and that is that it's the lowest quality. Now, if we step up from there to setup number two, you'll see the only difference is I've added a webcam, which you can see that's attached to the top of the laptop there. And that does make a big difference. And I will show you after this presentation the difference between them. I've got a couple of cameras here, so you'll be able to get a visual difference between what the quality is like. So that's a definite step up in terms of visual quality. And that particular webcam has a little built-in mic as well, so that may well improve it. Although the mic on this particular laptop is fairly good for a laptop, neither of those are really good for audio, but it's definitely a step up in visual quality. And the only difference is the webcam, which at the moment people are still price gouging, but you could pick up a half decent one, anything from about 70. That one from Logitech Direct is about 140. They go for as much as 300. Again, this one looks almost identical. So if I go back, spot the difference. The only difference here is that I've got a special pole at the back there that clamps to the desk, and the webcam is attached to the pole, and it's in the perfect position. The advantage of this is if I go back here, it's attached to my screen. Now, if I want to move the laptop and then I want to get back and set up again, I've got to connect the webcam. I've got to make sure it's in the right position, etc. If I buy it here with and attach the pole to the desk and put the webcam on there and it's set up, all I have to do, slot the laptop in, plug in a couple of cables, and I'm ready to go. So the pole there costs about £50. You can probably make one up that's a bit cheaper than that, but the advantage is it was made for this. It can adjust up and down. It can go much higher, can't go much lower, but it's also on a ball head, so you can maneuver it around, up and down, left and right, get it set perfectly, lock it off, and then it's ready to go every single time if you're going to be doing a lot of this. I do a lot of this, and so does Ben. I've got a setup here, as you'll see in a moment, where everything's ready. I just push a few buttons and it's all ready and working. So that's the advantage of adding the pole to it. The advantage of setup 2 and 3, if you like, is obviously it's still quick and easy. It's a budget option. It costs you a little bit more than almost nothing. It's medium quality, so the quality of the video and the audio is improved. One of the big downsides is that it's no internal recording, so you can't record a video separate from your live stream. And remember, with live streaming, the quality that comes through is okay, but it's not brilliant. You'll always get a better quality if you have some sort of camera that's recording. And with that said, setup number 4 is definitely a step up. So here, we've essentially got the same thing. We've got the two light wand lights because they're nice and small and they don't take up a lot of space on the desk. We've now added what's called a shotgun mic. So it's a mic that's connected directly to the camera on an arm. And we now have a proper camera behind the laptop. So still on that arm, still set up perfectly. So every time I come and sit down, I'm in the right place. I don't have to fiddle with any of these things. All I have to do is make sure the laptop is slotted in and everything's plugged in. So this gives me obviously the advantage of way superior video quality. I can obviously record in the camera. And the other big thing is you can tweak it. A little bit of help from us, you can tweak the camera such that the video quality looks amazing. The difference between this camera and the webcam, although the quality is better, the webcam still kind of it automatically kind of senses the exposure and what's going on in the room around you, and it'll change without you wanting it to, and you can't lock it down very easily. I have got a program that tweaks it, but even that will change, whereas here, this doesn't change. It's perfectly set up every single time, and if you want to change it, one button will allow you to change it very quickly. So you've got a great amount of versatility with the highest quality. And then the final one is virtually exactly the same. This is setup number 5. The advantage here, if you're a Mac person, is that if you have a reasonably recent iPad, you can use it in what's called sidecar mode. You can have it as a second screen. Now that's useful if you want to share screen, if you want to be doing something and looking at something while a presentation's going on, but you want to be able to have two things happening, then this can be done wirelessly or wired. Again, certainly with Mac, if you have relatively recent, about 2016 onwards, Mac computer and a Mac iPad. So that's kind of as far as I would go. You can still tweak it further than that, but really to go further than that, then you'd have to have really good reasons. We have got a few clients that want to go further, but then the price goes up and so does the consultation, and we need to come out and basically do a setup. All of this can be set up by somebody, either with our help remotely or by themselves. So it's not super complicated that you can't get it done by yourself, but start to add from here, and then the complexity does go up quite a lot. So the advantage of this, of course, is that you get the best quality in terms of audio and video. You get the best internal recording, which you can always refer to if your live stream didn't go so well or you want a better quality. Obviously, it's only going to record you, so it's not going to improve the quality of any guest. So, but if you're recording and you want a copy for yourself, then you can always take it straight from the camera, and it'll always be way better. Plus, we have a client that I'm going to see in a couple of weeks where she wants to actually do her own recording separate. She does a lot of Zoom, but she wants to record her own digital product. And the advantage, of course, of this setup is that you can record your own digital products, super high quality. You don't need me or Ben to come out and do that. We will probably do the editing because most people are not so good at the editing, but you've got your entire studio for live and for digital product development ready to go. So that's the other advantage. The cons, obviously, two of them are that one of it's the most expensive, of course, and it's not portable. You can't really take this stuff and go somewhere else easily. It's going to take you a while to pack it all down and to take it elsewhere. It's really designed at this level to be set and forgotten, set and forget, as we call it, and then you're ready to go. So that's it with regards to the setup. I just want to share with you one other thing, and Ben alluded to it when he was speaking, which is the background. And Raimonda, you also spoke about it as well, which is what sort of background? I don't want this busy sort of background. Well, here's the option that I would recommend for people that, A, don't want to spend a lot more money or don't want to have something bigger. It's a collapsible background. It's on a pole, as you can see there. And that background on the right-hand side can actually be folded down into like a circular thing of about 80 centimeters in diameter, and then you can sort of pack it away in its little cover. So that's probably the easiest. The downside of this is you've got to have it very close behind you, and you'll see in a moment I've got something set up which I'll show you. But because it's so small, the edges will show if you put it too far away. It's not going to be as effective, so it's got to be like right behind your chair if you're going to use something like that. And having said that, this picture here shows what you don't want. So if you're looking for a green screen in particular, the one I showed you there it's just a kind of a lime scale type version, which would work if you don't want to have a green screen. But if you want the green screen version here, don't go for something like this. It's too rounded on the edges, especially where the corners would be. And because a camera, even a webcam, shoots in a rectangular format, you're going to find that the edges won't fill the screen. So if you are looking for a collapsible type thing, look for something like this that is more rectangular. The more rectangular, the better. Ideally, you'd want no curves on the edges, but because these collapse down into like a little circular collapsible item, they're bent around the edges. So I don't think you'll ever find one that's perfectly 90 degrees, but rather go for that than this. This won't be good unless your camera is very tight on your face and it's right up behind you. So that will give you a little bit more room than the previous one. And here's what you can see. You can kind of see it. I think they've cheated a little bit here, but that's okay. I think they've put these two people in or Photoshopped the background in, because if you look at the camera there, it's not wide enough to have two people. The person on the right there, if that camera was set up properly, the green screen wouldn't cover them. So that's kind of that's been a Photoshopped image, but that gives you the idea of what you can do. I would say that green would have to be literally right up behind both of them there in order for the camera to ensure that only green is recorded. So that's it for the main part of that. You asked me about virtual screens, right? The virtual background. You asked me, I'm having a problem. If you look at what I'm looking like now, it doesn't look like I have a virtual background. And in fact, I'm going to show you something now. So I wonder if I can share screen to actually show you this. This will be informative probably. Let me share screen again. So here's what it looks like in Zoom. If you have a pro account, you go down here to choose virtual background. At the moment, it looks like I have a black screen, but if I turn this off, you can see I've got a green screen. Now, there is a difference here. At the bottom here, there's an option that says I have green screen. If I turn that off and I choose one, let's just choose that one, which is an office one, you'll see that the moment I do something, it looks awful, right? This is an option if you have no green screen at the back, but you want to have something else. You could do this yourself, Raimonda, and you could put this in. But the moment you moved your hands or you move around too much, you'll see it goes all over the show. Now, watch this, and all I'm going to do now is say I have green screen. And watch the difference now. Right? Significantly better. My chair comes back in focus. You don't get those things happening. And the way to do this is to go to none. And what you do when you want to share a screen is you click on this little button here, and it says, okay, tell us the color you want to detect. And I'm going to click about here, and immediately it keys out everything that's green. Now, obviously, you can't be wearing green. There can't be anything else green in your picture. Otherwise, that will disappear as well. So that's the only downside to a green screen. But now we've got that screen. We could go with something else. There's a lovely one where, let's say I'm sitting. This is a video that runs for over an hour. It looks like I'm sitting in front of my window at nighttime. Or if you wanted one during the day, there's one. I'm presuming that's New York or somewhere, actually. I found this off the internet. So again, there's one. And the keying looks quite good. In other words, the way it's taken out the green looks pretty professional. As long as I don't move around too much, you can kind of see it on my fingers if I move a lot. But if I move slowly, it's kind of okay. So that's one way. And of course, if you go black, that's the ideal option because it takes out everything. But you can have various. There's one of me working with a busy office. So there's a whole bunch of different options. So the point being that if you have a green screen, you can include all of these things. If you don't have a green screen, you could still get away with it, but it's not going to look quite so good. So hopefully that helps you in terms of understanding it from the green screen point of view if you are doing it. So I'll just put something on there. I'll just let one of these run so that we can let that. Actually, you can see there, that's without the green screen. So I'm going to click the button, and there it keeps my chair. But because it's bright, you can see the outlines there kind of look a bit weird. So I'm going to, if I go with that, of course, it disappears because everything's dark, so it hides it. So having a darker background is, in a sense, better. So that's what that looks like. Now I just want to show you the difference between the cameras. I've obviously got a virtual screen, but from what I showed you before, there's three options, right? So let's say just so you can see the difference. So here's the camera that's included. That's what the camera looks like straight out of my laptop. Okay, so it's okay. It's not brilliant. You can see over there, it's cut off because the camera's a little bit wide, and because the screen curves, there's a part of the screen there that doesn't show. So that looks a bit weird. Then if we go to the Logitech option, which is the little webcam, you can see here, this is wider. The problem is, of course, if I'm doing green screen, then it's much too wide and you get this blackening effect around the edge here. I'd have to literally bring it off here and bring it in really sort of close there. But even then, as you can see, it's not like perfectly taking the key out. So the webcam is not ideal for a green screen. And then you compare that, of course, if I go back to my proper camera, that looks amazing, right? It looks like I'm in a studio.
Yeah.
So those are the three options to choose from. At least you can get an idea. Is it worth me upgrading? I would say yes, it is. If you're going to go green screen, then you probably want to go with a better quality camera, and that will give you the best effect, especially if it's all set up like this. Then you just come on, switch on a few things, power up the camera, and you're ready to go, and you look amazing. Last thing I'll share with you, because you see this black thing here, and then you can ask as many questions as you like. I'm speaking at the moment from a mic that you can't see. It's just off screen here. It's set up slightly differently from the picture I showed you, but essentially it's the same. It's set up. I'm ready to go. But I've got this little mic here, and if I swap over to this mic, you can notice the difference. It might even, to some people, sound better. But I'm going to swap to this mic now, and you'll be able to hear. Okay, hopefully that's working now. And you might hear a difference in the quality and maybe the loudness as well. And this is a wireless mic. The beauty of this is I can move around anywhere in shot, and the audio will stay the same. If I'm using my shotgun, then of course I need to stay close, and the further away, if I had to move, then of course it's going to, the quality of the audio is going to degrade. So the option that we often say to people, depending on their scenario, is either go with a wireless mic that plugs in, or go with a shotgun mic that connects to either the computer or the camera.
Right. Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Rob. Absolutely fantastic demonstration of all the different options. I think that's opened up some sort of mind for people and opened up the eyes to what the possibilities are. I think it's really, really useful because there's so many people sort of ask again, should I upgrade? Do I need a camera? What kind of camera to go for? So I think that was brilliant to just have that all shown to us. of the difference and so on and so on. So thank you so much for your time and for showing us all that. I think it's really interesting with the virtual background as well, what you can do, because I'm sure many people have been playing about, and again, I've seen many that have got various shadows and things happening. So it's nice to know how to avoid them and minimize them. So yeah, brilliant. What would you say would be sort of the budget for virtual event setup? If someone was to do this regularly, what would you say they need to allocate for the tech element?
Say that again. So basically, you want to know quote-wise how much it would cost?
Yeah. So what would you advise have as a budget for sort of event tech if you were to do this regularly? If you were to present to audience?
Similar to Rob's setup.
Yeah.
So would you say it's about 2,000, Rob?
Yeah. So for my setup here, yeah, you're probably looking at I would say probably more around 2,500 with a bigger background, and this you can tweak it and you can actually get cheaper, and I'm constantly testing different things to see what works. But I would say if you had 2,500, that would cover it, and it might be less than that. Then of course you can go down as we saw in this setups I showed you. You can go from just your laptop and buying a couple of these light ones. That would improve it automatically. So if you had one on each side of your desk there, and it wasn't daytime because you might be doing it at night or in the winter, then that will significantly improve it. Even with a poor quality camera that most of the laptops have, if you've got enough light in your face, it'll help. So minimum sort of probably £150 all the way up to about 2,500.
Brilliant. That gives a good kind of gauge, I guess, of what you can achieve with a bit more. And it's certainly a good investment because obviously you can record it and then replay the video and use it in different ways, can't you? So brilliant. Yeah. Well, I think most of my questions have actually been answered by all your demonstrations and telling us all about it, really. So if there's anything, unless there's anything else you'd like to add, I think it's been really useful, and I think my audience and any one of my contacts will definitely value your guidance and expertise on this. So again, thank you very much.